this next one is a movie that I very much was surprised by. I watched this one with my mom as well because she loves Christmas stuff, and she said to me, she thanked me for letting her watch it with me, and she also told me that it was definitely a movie that brought her back to her childhood in a way, like watching Christmas specials with some family friends when she was a kid. And this movie is from the 80s. It was apparently the Salkinds attempt. The Salkinds are the producers on the original Superman, Christopher Reeve. And in the movie, what is called Santa Claus, the movie, and it stars Dudley Moore from the movie 10, and you also got John Lithgow, who of course was in things like Harry and the Hendersons, Shrek, Twilight Zone the movie, Brian De Palma's Blowout and Raising Cain, of course the TV show Third Rock from the Sun, among others. But yeah, though, this was an interesting little origin story on something that you wouldn't really expect. Like talking about like the origin of coal and certain other things. And my favorite part, though, of this movie, my favorite character was without a doubt John Lithgow. He is so funny. But one of the things that that does make me sad, though, in a way, is that this is a really good, and as it says on the back, an enchanting, heartwarming tale. But the problem is that kids will not really be able to sit down and watch this, I feel. It's kind of like how little kids kind of refuse to sit down and watch the original stop motion animated Christmas specials like Frosty the Snowman, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, Year Without a Santa Claus. I think this movie could kind of almost fall into that category of something that kids probably won't really be able to sit down and stay still and watch. But because the first 45 minutes to, I believe, an hour. Yeah, I think about the first 45 minutes, because this movie's like an hour and 49 minutes. And because John Lithgow gets introduced like almost an hour in, which is a long time. It felt like a long time. But I still enjoyed the movie nonetheless. And I did like the little friendship that Santa made with this little kid. And he actually had the kid join on the sleigh ride with him. And that was pretty nice to watch. But yeah, though, like I said, the only problem I see is that kids will not be able to stay still, sit down, and really watch it without getting restless and a little irritable and being like, can we watch something else? Can we watch Elf? Frig Elf. This movie is better. This was a movie that came out in 2014, but I didn't see it till 2015 since it was one of those limited release movies. A lot of people have talked about it, so I don't know what else I can really add to it that hasn't already been said. And Michael Keaton, Zach Galifianakis, Edward Norton, Andrea Riseborough, Amy Ryan, Emma Stone, and Naomi Watts. And that movie is Birdman, or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance. Sorry. Something up with my nose. Haven't really been feeling like myself lately. I should be fine. Yeah. This is some nice little imagery. I definitely really enjoyed it. I mean, yes, kind of may need to watch it a couple more times. I did read an article online that supposedly explains the ending to Birdman, and once again, I'm kind of gonna go into spoiler territory. I hope you guys, at least I hope most of you guys have seen it already. But pretty much, as you know, at the end, like, he attempted to shoot himself in front of the entire audience on opening night of his play. But and it's like him in the hospital, and like him getting out of his bed, and like removing the gauze bandages off of his nose, and the little messed up. But I thought it was definitely a nice little makeup. And then it was like him going to the window and pretty much like flying out. And Emma Stone comes back into the room and she's like, "Dad? You alright? Dad?" And she sees the open window and she looks up, or actually she looks down first, and then she looks up and she smiles. And it was definitely one of those things, like, I mean, when I saw it, I was like, well, maybe he actually is flying for real. But definitely after reading this article, I think it makes more sense that it says that he successfully killed himself, and his powers, I guess you could say, powers, kind of got passed into his daughter, Emma Stone. I mean, that's a sad ending, in my opinion, but it happens. This next one is a part of a 4-pack that I didn't watch all these. There was like one that I saw a little bit of when I was a kid, and then one that I saw like clips of online and on documentaries. This other one is a movie I never saw at all, but it was the final collaboration between these specific actors, so I'm glad to own it. I just hope I like the movie. But out of the 4 movies on here, and just the one that I watched, I enjoyed enough to definitely want to keep this set. And the movie is The Walking Dead with Boris Karloff, part of this Karloff and Lugosi horror classic set. So yeah, The Walking Dead and Frankenstein 1970, because they thought Frankenstein 1960 sounded too realistic, too present. I'm like, really? Just a 12-year difference? Because it came out in 1958. Frankenstein 1970. Get it? And then this other one, you'll find out in Zombies on Broadway. But yeah, though, The Walking Dead was a movie that came to my attention through Bill Heinzman's interview on the Night of the Living Dead Dimension Extreme Special Edition DVD. which I think is the best way to get that movie. He talks about where he got his zombie walk from. Zombie walk, he said, was from inspired a bit by Boris Karloff from this movie. And I definitely saw what he was talking about. But pretty much what the movie is Boris Karloff plays this a recently released from prison convict. He is trying to find a job, like to get a little bit of money until like his musical career can take off again. But pretty much he gets mixed in with these bad people, these group of gangsters, and they pretty much ask him to spy on this judge's house, like take notes on when he leaves the house and when he comes home, and among other things. And pretty much what they did is they kill him. They kill the judge, and they tuck his corpse into the back seat of Boris Karloff's car. So he gets wrongly accused. He gets the electric chair. The scientist has the corpse taken away from the morgue, and he decides to try to bring him back from the dead to learn what it's like on the other side. And it takes a while for Boris Karloff's memory to resurface. It was still a very nice build up. But when he sees like these certain criminals, his memory starts to come back more and more, and he like slowly goes after these people. And I'm not going to go any further because it's worth seeing. And the way that he kills them are very unique kills for a horror movie. Definitely revenge kind of movie. I should mention very quickly, this is from the director of Casablanca and among other movies, Michael Curtiz. Yeah, Curtiz. Michael Curtiz. And definitely for a movie that is only 65 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes, it goes along really fast, gets to the point right away, and for me at least, never got bored with it. I actually watched the movie like about twice in a row. One time as the movie itself, and the other time with the commentary by Greg Mank, which is very informative, and he's just an entertaining film historian to listen to on different DVDs to certain movies. Alright. Now this next one is a movie that was a long time coming in terms of for me to watch. I didn't watch it on this DVD, which has amazing special features, but I watched on the El Rey channel, which is almost like HBO in some ways with their movies. Like it's just pretty much unedited. And the movie is John Carpenter's They Live with Rowdy Roddy Piper, may he rest in peace, and Keith David. Yeah, Rowdy Roddy Piper, his death was one of the worst things to happen to me this past year. It's very depressing. coming home from a movie convention, and I saw him at many of them. In this one, he wasn't at, but I saw him, weirdly enough, back in April of 2015. Then at the end of July, with me coming back home from Boston Comic Con and going online to see what's up, that news immediately popping up and being like, wow, that was a great way to end my day. Not. But I don't know what else I can really say about They Live that hasn't been said. I can say I'm glad it's finally getting its notice. I will definitely say that. Yeah. This next one is a movie that took me a long time to finally watch, but in the end, I'm happy I finally saw it. I'm really good friends with the star. Saw him at a few conventions, and then friends with him on Facebook. That's what I meant to say. And it's the George Romero movie, Martin, one of the lesser known ones. And this has a great making of, and it was sort of like the beginning of a new era in George Romero's career. Because this was, I believe, before Dawn of... Yeah, I think it was before Dawn of the Dead. And it was the first time Tom Savini worked on a movie with George. And this was, I think, when George started doing his partnership with producer Richard Rubinstein, who worked with him quite a bit for the next so many years, like on things like Dawn of the Dead, Creepshow. And it's definitely sad, though, how they had to part ways, or George felt like they had to part ways in the late 80s into the early 90s when he was getting ready to do, what was it? Monkey Shines, I believe. Yeah, because Richard thought that they should start going into more television and kind of lesser into the movies. But I'm glad that George stuck to his guns and was like, okay, I'm going to continue with the movies. I'm going to try to actually get into the Hollywood system. And Monkey Shines definitely is one of those underrated George Romero flicks. But so is this one, too. And I don't know what I can really say about it. It's definitely a good psychological thriller. And it definitely leaves you guessing on, was he really a vampire or was he not? But I like to stick with what George said, especially since he's the writer of the movie. Martin was just messed up, watched one too many movies as a kid.